Yes.
I will try to hide this one. This is blocking the view. I think this is better, right? Okay. So I will just review from the basic what we have discussed from day one. So IT audits are carried out in three different areas. One is the business process, second is the IT environment, third one is the compliance area. Okay. So business process is nothing but the functionality of the departments. So if you are doing any kind of activity audit, I'm repeating, if you are doing any kind of activity audit, activity means function. Let it be third party, let it be internal process, let it be communication, let it be customer care, finance, HR, IT, whatever it is. So when you are doing the audit on the process, then it comes under the business process audit. In some organizations, they call as business program or business function. And the departments, they call it as verticals. Okay, these terminologies are different. Maybe a few of you already know about these terminologies, I hope. So that's about the business process. And the second thing is about the IT environment. IT environment is simple, that whatever is in the IT domain, let it be hardware, software, network, and database. So that comes under the IT environment. So, for example, if we are doing any kind of cyber audits or identity access management audits, privileged access audit, privileged access management audit, disaster recovery audit, incident management audit, change management audit. Like this, there are many things. So these are purely concerned with the IT domain. So I have mentioned clearly in the initial class that no matter what type of audit you are going to do, these three domains will be interconnected. What it means is, if you are doing IT audit, for that you should know what is the business process and you should know what is the laws and regulations, that is something regards to the governance domain. So similarly, if you are doing audit on the business process, you should know what is the IT domain involved in this particular business process, and you should know what is the governance part in this particular function. So this is what we discussed at the initial, and I'm going to share this file also so that it becomes easy for you to understand. So that was it. And second thing is, like, we are going to discuss few steps how the audit happens. So Naresh also already knows about it, and few of you also know basic things about it. So audit steps, usually I said that PDCA cycle they use it, correct? PDCA, it is applicable for any kind of activity. Let it be audit, let it be risk management, let it be for the new project introduction into the business. It can be anything. So PDCA is common. So that means when you follow the PDCA within the organization, the quality of the product or the project, the expectations of the project, and the delivery of the project, all three things will be satisfied. Because in the PDCA, we have discussed that while doing the implementation part, you are not doing everything at a time. You are going step by step. Whatever you have planned, you are not introducing or implementing within the organization at a stretch or at a time. So you are doing it in a stage wise. So when it happens, it becomes easy for you to focus on the weaknesses or vulnerabilities, let it be with regards to the process or maybe the IT environment. So this is what we discussed, and here you, as you can see, the plan phase initially. So in the plan phase, as you can see, the announcement letter or engagement letter or planning memo or request for proposal. Okay, this is called request for proposal. So in simple terms, what it means is, say, for example, you are working in an audit company, audit consulting firm, such as EY, KPMG, Deloitte, or any other company. So how the consulting company gets the project, that is what we have to think about, correct? How do they get it? How do they understand the project? Correct. So all these details, as an auditor, we should have an idea. Not necessarily you will be getting into that directly, but you should have an idea because that gives you the grip on the audit. So in the planning phase, the organization who is requesting for the audit, in this example, if we are taking that maybe HDFC is requesting KPMG to do the audit, internal or external audit, whatever the scenario. So when KPMG gets a request, they will ask you to, that means they will ask the HDFC bank to send the details in a pro forma base, in a letter format or in a document format. Correct? Because they have to understand what is the scope of the audit. First thing. So this comes under the scope of the audit. So in simple terms, what you need to understand is, if the organization is getting a proposal from any other organization, okay, if the organization is getting proposal from any organization, they should be getting a document. Okay, so that particular document are put into this different forms or formats: announcement letter, engagement letter, planning memo, or request for proposal. So when this thing happens, the organization, in this example HDFC Bank, will request the KPMG that what is that they are expecting out of this particular communication. So they mention all the details, maybe internal audit, external audit, maybe IT cybersecurity audit, identity access management audit. So we don't know exactly. So what they have mentioned in this letter will be understood by the KPMG, and they will send a team. They will send a team who are a bit experienced or manager level. So that manager level team will go to HDFC top management who has requested for this particular type of audit. So they will have an initial meeting. Okay. In this initial meeting, the discussion starts from the introduction and capabilities of the both the parties. Both the parties means HDFC as well as the KPMG, because the introduction part not only discloses about the capabilities but also discloses what they can serve to the client. That is what the main topic is. So when this initial starting kickstarts, both the parties will discuss from the basic of introduction to the project level. So in this meeting, there will be something called moments of meeting. MOM they call it. Okay, MOM. So in this initial meeting, they will discuss all the topics starting from the business. Then later it will go on to the scope of the audit. Then it will give you the information about the number of departments associated with this audit scope and the stakeholders involved in this particular audit scope. What are the laws and regulations applicable for their process, because it is them who should know better than us. Why? Because they are running business. Correct? Is it clear, guys, with this topic? These are a bit important things you should understand. Can I get confirmation?
Yes, Rajesh.
Yeah. So when this particular meeting happens, they write down from the introduction till the audit scope and associated stakeholders, associated departments, then the laws and regulations applicable for this scope. So they will discuss all the points. So once they discuss all these points, the KPMG will note down all the key points that are happening during the discussion part, because this is required for the documentation purpose. So once the moments of meeting happens, or minutes of meeting, in some companies they call it as, they disclose this content, whatever they have written down, to the client. Client in this example is HDFC. So when HDFC goes through the content of whatever they have noted down, they will give the recommendation. If something has to be added or edited or everything is fine, they will give the feedback. After that, they will move out or walk out. And you need to understand, maybe sometimes one-time meeting may not be sufficient to understand the entire scope. So maybe 2-3 times should happen. So when it happens 2-3 times, the previous discussion points will be revised in the coming meeting. That, was there any changes? Was there any amendments? Was there any kind of additions we need to do? All these suggestions will be given by the client company. In this example, HDFC. So when these particular process continues, the final scope of the audit document will be ready by the consulting firm or audit company. In this example, we are talking about KPMG. So KPMG will prepare all these documents, keep it ready. One copy, they will send it to the client, a soft copy to get the confirmation and written approval. And the second copy will be with the management. So here we need to understand one more thing, that according to the scope requirement by the client organization, the audit scope will be written down in the document. Not only that, they also will disclose in later stages that we have confirmed with all the information from you. Thanks for it. Now we will let you know what all the possibilities with regards to the resources, because maybe HDFC is requesting to do it on urgent basis. We don't know. Maybe 15 days, 30 days. But the the audit organization or consulting organization should also confirm with the possibilities. Maybe they are asking in a too short notice, correct? So maybe it's not possible, because the quality and the report domain may not be fit into that particular number of days. So they may ask for more, extend the deadline for more days. So in this scenario, the consulting company, in this case KPMG, will prepare a document about the resources. How many people required to do the audit? What are the technologies or resources required for that? What should be the duration? What are the stages that they are going to do this audit? When they are going to submit the report on stage by stage basis? Who will be the person going to do that audit, or who will be the person going to provide the reports? Then what will be the deadlines of each and every stage of the audit? Then finally, the finance part also. So in this example, you have understood that not only the audit scope, but also the resources perspective also included. Resources means, that's what we said, maybe manpower, maybe duration, maybe technology, maybe finance. It can be anything. So these particular information will be shared with the client organization. That is what HDFC. So HDFC will give a go ahead to, if everything is fine, then the audit initiation. No, before the initiation, the planning starts. Why? Because since they have given all this information, they need to plan things, correct? So in arranging the manpower, in arranging technology, in arranging the resources, and arranging the finance for that particular department, because some organization may release the funds for some percentage, 20% or whatever it is. We don't know exactly. That's about the financial deal between the management and the client. But as IT auditor, we should have at least a minimum knowledge that how it happens. So in the planning phase, they will understand, okay, what all the business process included in this, what all the technologies included, what all the domains included, what all the compliance things required to be taken into consideration. So they will mention all these things, and after that, they will start preparing for the audit program. Okay. So in this, there will be a kind of a manager or a superior or a privileged person. And after that, the team will be associating with them to plan in not only in planning, but also preparing the required documents. Then after that, if they ask for any meeting request, that happens again. That means to explain them that what they're going to do. Then again, if second attempt is successful, then the audit request or IP information provided by the entity or PBC, that is, all the three are same, but in different organizations, they use different words or terminologies. Some may use as PBC, some may use IPE, some may use audit request. So then everything is clear from the client organization. In this example, HDFC, then the kickoff starts. Kickoff means the first planning of the audit program. That means since they know all the details about the audit, now it is the plan that they have to do for the designing the controls or the checklist. So in this, they do two things, TOD and TOE. What it means is, say, for example, if the organization is giving external audit, okay, that is in this example, HDFC giving external audit a project or program to KPMG. So KPMG will understand how many processes are included, how many domains, IT domains are included, how many compliance points are included under each process, under each IT domain. So IT domain, that is nothing but, as we discussed on the top, maybe identity access management, privileged access management, disaster recovery, cybersecurity. It can be anything. So based upon that, the relevant controls or statements will be prepared. I gave you a few examples if you remember. So TOD is nothing but test of design. Test of design is nothing but you are confirming whether the statement or control relevant to this particular process or not. I gave you example that if you are doing audit on the HR department process, definitely you should not get a statement or control from the finance or IT domain process, correct? So that will be a failure. So that is why we do the test of design. Test of design is, in simple terms, if you have capability to remember, it is nothing but confirming the statement or control with the process and their methodologies, whether it is relevant or not. The second one is TOE, test of effectiveness. Test of effectiveness means, again, whatever you have confirmed that the statement or the control is designed properly according to the process, then you will check for the effectiveness. What is the meaning of effectiveness? It is very simple. Say, for example, if you are doing audit on the identity access management. In the identity access management, the total domain includes about the methods used to give provision to the authorized users. How do they access both the physical, environmental, and the data IT domain? So in this scenario, we know different methods are used some are used multi-factor authentication, correct? And some are used maybe the face recognition, that we don't know exactly. So it depends on company to company. They will before kickstart the project, they will give you the KT, knowledge transfer. They will explain you what is the technology or method that they are using in the organization, that you don't need to worry now. Okay. So in this process, you are confirming that statement or the control is properly designed for that process, then the output definitely will be effective, correct? That means you will get the proper evidence. See, for example, identity access management, if a statement or control asks that how will you monitor the access to the programs or applications? I'll repeat. If a statement or a control says that how will you provide access to the authorized users for your applications and programs? So this is the statement or a control. So in this, what are you trying to understand is, the first point is, we know that we are talking something relevant to the domain. That is the first thing that you have to understand. That means the statement or the control is very much relevant to that process. Okay. The first point is clear. That is TOD is clear. Next, once you have confirmed that the control or statement is relevant to that domain, obviously you should get the evidence as per the control. You should not be getting evidence from HR or other departments, correct? The evidence should not be from other departments. So that is what, once you receive the evidence, maybe a screenshot of the access management or a report. So in that, you will try to validate first. What is the validation? Validation, I said, it's nothing but checking and confirming whether the evidence is relevant to the control or not. That is what validation. That means if the control or statement is asking something, that means the evidence should be appropriately correct with that particular control. So that's about the validation. The second part comes is the review. Review is nothing but if the validation confirms that the evidence is relevant to the control, obviously you will be easily identifying whether it is going to be a compliant or non-compliant. Compliant, as I said, that it is meeting the requirements of the control. That means the evidence is very much relevant to the control. That is what, and not only that, they are satisfying with the control requirements. That's about the effectiveness. So in this scenario, we will have two different situations. If the, say for example, do you monitor the access management or access activities? If the statement says, the evidence shows that they are not monitoring. That means they are not using any kind of tool to monitor who have accessed and where they have access, what type of they have accessed. So that means they are not able to satisfy the control requirement. So that will be considered as, that evidence will be considered as non-compliant. NC, they call it as non-compliant. And in other example, in another situation, not example, situation, if the evidence is exactly showing as, yes, we have a monitoring tool, identity access management monitoring tool, and that tool picks up all the activities done 24/7 within the organization. So that means they are using some kind of a tool to record the type of access, not only record, but they also will try to check what type of access they have, where do they access, that means from where do they access. So these kind of things will be validated. That means they will validate, yes, this person, this employee has access at this point of time, this area. So once this report is generated, that means you are visually checking, yes, this evidence is very much relevant to the control requirement. Then you say compliant. See, compliant. So in this compliant and non-compliant, you understood that if the evidence is meeting the requirement of the control, it is going to be compliant. If the evidence is not going to meet the or satisfy the control requirement, then it will be considered as non-compliant. So that's about the effectiveness. Is it clear, guys? This topic, two different things, TOD and TOE. I will be sending you the document, not to worry. Just for the explanation sake and to make you understand what this concept is. Okay. Then the third one is called OFI, opportunity for improvements. So what is that opportunity for improvement? Maybe you are going to do audit on the identity access management. And during the discussion, you don't just ask the control, you are trying to probe that auditee with several relevant questions. Say, like, for example, oh, is it you have the identity access management tool? Very good. From where you got this tool? Like, which service provider has given you this kind of activity? Okay, good. You received it recently. Okay, have you installed any kind of security patches provided by the service provider? Then you get a blank reply. That means they are not following the security patches released by the service provider. So this is called a probing question. That means you are not just sticking to the control checklist, but you have the responsibility to ask the probing questions. That means not only with regards to the checklist, but out of the box, you have to go and confirm with that auditee, is there something wrong within their environment, within their business process? So that is only possible when you ask a relevant probing questions. If you are not in a position to ask that questions just with the control, that means the audit report will be fine. You prepared the audit report, but tomorrow some kind of incident happened. So when that incident happens, the audit report shows everything is fine, but how come the incident happened? That is because we could not put our efforts in understanding more about the process or the environment. That is the reason why we failed to identify that weakness. So that is the reason IT auditors, we have to keep our eyes, ears open all the time in what they say, how they say, and have they missed out something or not. And you should be in a commanding position. Commanding doesn't mean that you have literally command. What you need to say is, you have to get the evidence in what you are asking. They should be able to give you yes or no. They cannot say it is inappropriate question or inappropriate method of doing things. You have the upper hand if you put your words correctly. That means make him understand on why you are asking these questions. What makes you to ask all these questions, probing questions? Clear, guys, with this topic about three things?
Yeah, Rajesh.
Okay. Next, the fourth one is the follow-up phase. As we know, once we prepared the reports, both the compliant, non-compliant, opportunity for improvement, maybe some are not applicable or exceptions that we will discuss later. As of now, just remember three things: compliant, non-compliant, and opportunity for improvement. So when the audit report generates according to the audit scope, then the audit report contains all these three things: compliant, non-compliant, and opportunity for improvement. So based upon that, your manager, that means the audit manager, in this case, KPMG, that manager who is responsible for delivering the project on time, he will go through the entire audit report and he will approve and send it to the client organization, in this case, HDFC. So there will be a kind of a meeting, closure meeting, they call it as. Okay. In that closure meeting, The audit manager or the consulting firm will explain about the audit scope as well as the audit that is being carried out on the all domains that they have considered. So once they explain about each and every domain, how they have carried out, how they have identified compliant, non-compliant, and opportunity for improvement, that gives the good vision or good picture about the organization of HDFC management. That means HDFC management will come to know that what are the good things, what are the bad things about their organization. So once this report clearly shows, then the management will take action accordingly, because we have discussed in PDCA cycle, everything goes in a cycle manner. That means a step-by-step manner. So once it goes in a step-by-step manner, again, the management will consider all the weaknesses or non-compliance into consideration, and they will sit down with the relevant team members or the team heads, and they will start working on the non-compliance, and they will try to close before the compliance audit happens. What is the compliance audit? It is nothing but the government body asks you to submit the audit reports, because this external audit should happen once in a year, right? Even the compliance audit also happens once in a year, like RBI, SEBI audit, RBI audit. So these are the scheduled audit that every organization should go through annually. So this external audit will explain about the strengths, weaknesses of the organization, and based upon this report, the compliance body or the audit body, the government body will ask you, what are you going to do? That is what we have discussed initially, that always the first priority for everyone should be the high risk areas. Correct? So once the high risk areas are properly been addressed or discussed with the government bodies, then the deadlines will be given by the top management. That means they get a confirmation from the regulatory body saying that you need to close all your non-compliance within period of 6 months. So when they say it is a period of 6 months, then it becomes a mandatory task. There is no exception in that. So any exception that's going to happen, they should disclose it to the regulatory body why they are taking longer than 6 months. The reasons, proper validated reasons, should be given to the regulatory bodies. So based upon that, regulatory body will give you the time that is requested by the organization. So this is how the total audit happens. Any questions, guys, till now? I spoke for almost 30 minutes. Let me know if something is not clear.
Everything is clear, Rajesh.
Is it?
Great, fine, Rajesh.
Very good. Can I get one more confirmation to go ahead?
Yes, Rajesh, it's fine.
Very good. So this is the total scenario or the process that audit happens in all the organizations. So now you have a clear picture on what things you need to work upon, where you need to worry about as an IT auditor. Our always focus should be with relevant to the high risk areas. Okay. So after that, we will talk this particular topic later, but want to give you a fair idea about this. These are the special projects that's been carried out by the top management. Okay. Such as incident management planning, disaster recovery planning, business continuity planning, capacity management or program planning. So in this scenario, we will just discuss what it is and how it is going to be relevant to the audit topic. See, guys, whenever any kind of business is going to start, or that they are going to, start a business, they should have both the good as well as the bad situations into consideration. Good means if everything is going according to the plan, then that's called good, right? In simple terms. Bad is nothing but something you have not expected, or maybe something that comes out of a surprise because of internal or external situations. So some topics which has to be considered under the IT domain audits, we will discuss now. The first one talks about the incident management planning. See, guys, incident in simple terms means any kind of, I am talking about mainly IT domain because we are the IT auditors, right? So we need to understand incident management planning is nothing but any kind of unauthorized access or activity will be considered as an incident. So that can be with relevant to the access to the data, or access to the applications, programs, access to the systems, access to the network. It can be anything, we don't know. So when you have these kind of incidents, the organization should plan in advance what should be that organization doing at the time of incident. Say, for example, I am the employee of a bank, private bank. And I go to office and come back, and I have a hybrid model. Okay, I go 3 days to organization, 2 days work from home. So in this manner, my habit or my unknown habit is that, unknown means basically unintentional. Unintentional habit is that I write down my ID and password in my small book or store it in my mobile. So unfortunate situation can come that I lost my mobile or I lost my book. So if it falls under a wrong hands or the unauthorized users who are capable of understanding what is the importance of this particular information, then that becomes a possibility for risk to the organization. Okay, that's considered as a threat. So this is the weakness that I lost it. And the second scenario is that since I lost it, it got into a wrong hands. When it got into a wrong hands, that means it's creating a threat. What is the threat? It's a possibility of a risk. So when possibility of risk is confirmed, that means the risk is definitely going to happen. That means unauthorized access will happen to the applications, programs, networks, systems, and database. So at the time of this particular situation arises, the management should be alerted. Correct? The management should be alerted on what's the situation that's happening within the IT environment. So now you tell me what should be the organization responsibility at the time of incident. Just give me answer whatever you think.
It should gather information like how it happened and everything else.
Too good. Next. Next.
They need proper control to monitor and identify these kind of activities. They're supposed to have the special tool.
Correct. Very good. And they can also record what kind of activity happening. Correct?
Correct.
So what we are trying to understand is, because of my negligence, I lost my data, my personal data or confidential data, and this created an incident. So when this incident happens, the organization will imagine that how come a person or employee is supposed to work from office, but the access is happening from other city or different IP address, geographical IP address. So that's a totally contradictory logic, right? So there are several tools that works on different logics. So many tools are there. They work on different logics based upon the technology that they use and the logics that they use. So in simple terms, what we need to understand is incident management is a program or a plan that happens what the organization responsibility at the time of incident. What should be the plan during the incident. We will talk some points with regards to the incident management now. See, for any kind of incident, we know there is a concerned head of the person whom to be contacted, correct? Who is handling all these things. So first point you understood is SPOC, specific point of contact, whom to be contacted. The second thing is, if the incident is confirmed, then the details should be shared with that SPOC. So that sharing of that information, how it should be shared, in what format it should be shared, within what time they have to share, what kind of mode of communication should be used. So once the incident is confirmed or during happening, the roles and responsibilities of that particular responsible person, who is SPOC, could be a manager or a tech lead or VP, depending upon organization architecture, roles and responsibilities. So that responsible person will initiate all the plans that they have mentioned in the incident management planning document. That means, say, for example, if I'm accessing my credentials, since I lost it, someone accessing from a different city. So what should be the plan of action? Immediately block that person, right? That should be the first action. The second thing, you need to analyze what he has accessed, to what extent he has accessed. I like that. Is the risk confirmed or non-confirmed? If it's confirmed, then definitely you should be knowing that, okay, he tried to access the database of health department. So now we need to understand, is database of health department is proper or something normally happening. Maybe they wiped out 50% of the data. Maybe they didn't touch anything but copied or transferred the data. We don't know what's happening. So this is the responsibility of the incident management team, who will be following the guidelines as mentioned in the incident management planning document. So this document will also include what are the relevant regulations applicable from the government, local body. Is it clear? This is the first incident management planning. Should I go to the second one?
Yeah, you can go to the next one.
Clear, right? Good. So the second one is disaster. So as you know that incident is confirmed, that means a risk has already occurred. So when the risk is occurred, definitely you should know some kind of a disaster will happen because of that risk. So that risk, we do not know. The concerned team will act upon the policies mentioned in the disaster recovery planning. In this disaster recovery planning, the companies, what they use is something called RTO and RPO. I will repeat. The organizations they use is something called RTO and RPO. We will discuss what is meant by RTO and RPO. In the disaster recovery, we came to know that the incident is confirmed and the risk has already occurred within the organization. And because of this risk, we should know what kind of disaster that it has created. Maybe the application not working, network is not working, database is wiped out. We don't know exactly. So the organization should consider that how to get out of this situation. how to get out of this situation. That means when the incident is confirmed, that means they should know that a secondary plan, that is plan B, to come out of that situation. That is called disaster recovery plan. In this, there are two topics that need to be addressed. One is called RTO, other one called as RPO. So in this RTO and RPO, what we are talking about is, we know that disaster is happened and we are coming out of this situation. Coming out of this situation will be considered into two different situations. One with respect to time, the second with respect to the amount or the quantity that you are able to recover. The first one talks about RTO, recovery time object. Recovery time object. The second one called as recovery point object. So what it means is how much time you need to recover from that disaster. No matter what the type of disaster, maybe a high disaster, medium disaster, low disaster, we don't know. So this particular disaster recovery planning document will specify, according to the classification of disaster, what should be the criteria for RTO and RPO, recovery time object and recovery point object. The recovery time object says that if the situation is according to the classification, what is the time given? Low will have usually more time. That means low disaster will have more time to come up, because that is why we discussed initially that information classification is very much important. You need to understand the topic. Information classification, we said something about confidential and sensitive information, non-sensitive information, all these things, correct? So that means if some information is very much important to the organization, definitely the value of that particular information will be high and the risk value also will be high. Why? Because it comes with the information. So if you are going to lose that information, definitely the risk will be high to the organization, because that is bread and butter for the organization. Correct? For example, HDFC Bank, what is the kind of sensitive information? It is nothing but a customer's data, correct? Or a confidential data that you can talk about. So when the core business of that particular business is data, then they have to classify the data into what according to the organization policy, maybe high, medium or low. So based upon that, the risk also will be classified. And once the risk is classified, definitely you know what is going to be relevant to the disaster. So disaster will also be relevant to that risk type. If it is a high risk, then definitely the disaster will be high. If it is medium risk, medium disaster, low risk, low disaster. So based upon that, the organization will design what is the time required for this particular operations or the IT domain activity, how much time you can give it for them. That means I will just take one example. If you have ATMs in bank, HDFC banks will have several ATMs, correct? So all of a sudden, due to some network issue, one area of the ATM centers network is down. Now listen to this question, guys. I'm expecting answer out of you guys. So if the bank is losing a network in certain area, whatever the number of ATMs connected with that network will lose its operation, correct? That means customers will not be able to withdraw or deposit cash or transfer cash through that ATMs. So if the organization considers the certain area network disaster, they consider it may be under medium or maybe low, depending upon the organization decision. Now you tell me, guys, what should be the time given to this particular type of disaster? I hope you heard the question.
So what type of means you mean to say based on the business consideration?
I told you that with respect to the IT environment, usually the information risk and disaster will be classified, correct? High,
Correct.
medium, and low. So in this example, I told you, if a bank network, a small network is, kind of hampered or damaged or kind of not able to function for certain period. Okay. So now because the ATMs, those are connected with this network, they will be down definitely, correct? So you will not be able to perform any kind of activity by using that ATM. Now, when I say the small network, if the organization considers the number of ATMs, maybe if the number of ATMs that get affected maybe 10, then it should be considered as low. If it is more than 10 to 50, it will be considered as medium. Maybe 50 and above will be considered as high. If that is the classification, what is the RTO time that should be given? I'm not exactly asking the time, but what I'm saying is, should it be less? Should it be medium? Should it be more? That is what my question is.
So for example, we can go with the low means it is like 48 to 72 hours.
Okay, good.
And if it is, for example, is a high, means medium, it is 24 to 48 hours. And
Superb.
high means below 24 hours.
Superb. Very good. That is the answer. I hope everyone understood what Karima said. Can I get confirmation?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very simple, guys. The higher the disaster, the lesser time we should give. The lesser the disaster, you can have sufficient time to react. That is what the meaning is. That's about the RTO. I hope you understood this particular RTO. Now we will talk about the RPO, recovery point object. Recovery point object says that how much can you recover from the disaster? That is the simple line that you can explain. How much you can recover from the disaster? Maybe the network, maybe the data, maybe the systems, applications, programs, we don't know. It can be anything. Say if the organization considers in terms of percentage, whatever the data size, we don't know, whatever the data size, based upon that, you should be able to recover the data according to its classification. Again, we are going to classification, information classification. Keep in mind, the foundation for all our discussion starts from information only. Why? Because information classification is the main foundation for the entire audits. So when we understood that the high, medium, and low information classification, based upon that, the organization will decide what should be the recovery point. If it is a high sensitive, what is it, 90% or is it 100%? If it is a medium one, is it 70% or 50%? Is it low? Is it like 30% or 10%? We don't know, right? So whatever the policy document talks about, based upon the information classification, the recovery point object also will be described in this disaster recovery plan document. See, guys, always you should not go with the rules what we are discussing. Why? Because RTO and RPO maybe the organization considers in keeping in incident management planning document. So that don't contradict with the organization, because organization knows better than us. You have to understand that, because they are the people who are running the business. They know what is important. They know what is not important. Always suggestions will be taken into consideration. But we also need, as an IT auditor, we also need to keep in understand that we need to understand that the management knows better than anyone else. That is what the bottom line is. So now we understood what is the RTO and RPO with respect to the disaster recovery plan. Can I get a confirmation to go ahead with the business continuity plan? Is it clear, guys? Any doubts?
Yeah, it's clear. You can go ahead.
You can go ahead, Ramesh.
Too good, too good. Thanks a lot, guys. So the next one is business continuity plan. business continuity plan is very simple. The business continuity plan talks about what is the organization plan even after the disaster happens. Even after the disaster happens. So what are we trying to understand here is that maybe the high disaster, medium disaster, low disaster, there should be a plan B, right? They should have some kind of a plan to come out of that. And they should be running their business as normal. It doesn't mean that you have faced a disaster and you will close the business. It doesn't work like that, correct? Have you come across some banks losing the data, guys? Have you heard this information? It is regular that happens. Can anyone give your information that you have come across with any information like this? Banks are losing the data. Have you come across ICICI Bank losing the confidential customers' data? Recently, it happened this year in the month of February or March.
Yes, right.
Yes,
We
yes,
heard.
Rajesh.
Correct. So that means the organization has faced the incident and organization has reacted to the disaster and organization has planned how to continue even after the disaster. That means they should have learnt a lesson, right? Because of this incident and disaster. That is what PDCA cycle says. Whatever you plan, you have implemented, then you check it. Once you check it, you should learn out of that mistakes that we have done in the previous history. So by learning from the previous history, not only that the organization move forward, but also they should not be in a position to neglect the previous incidents and disaster and facing the same issues in the future. So that kind of topics will be included in the business continuity plan. So this preparation of the document is again carried out by exclusive number of people at the top management. The junior and mid-level will not be called for this. Maybe a smaller organization, if they don't have enough resources, they will be asking you to do it. But usually the big four companies and the big organizations, they don't do it. They have people with 15 years, 20 years of experience, they sit down in this particular type of meetings in preparing document and all those things. If it is a smaller organization, they cannot afford to pay so many guys and they will ask you to do it. So that depends again, we don't know. So that's about the business continuity plan. The last one talks about the capacity management plan or program. So guys, capacity itself says that what is the organization capable of doing and what is that organization not capable of doing also. We will take one example. I'll go back to the same example of HDFC. Think that HDFC has got several branches across India. Some are in coastal areas, some are on the highlands area, and some are in the remote areas. We don't know, correct? We have in many areas HDFC. So we know that if organization thinks they wanted to start a new branch that is having a good source of business, so it means that they are opening a branch in a location where the expectations are really high. That means organization management thought they will get a good business. So to start a business, obviously they will do the PDCA again, correct? They will plan things, what all required, how much amount or resources required for this finance, how many people should be there, all these things they will plan. But if the organization thinks, why can't we just open a representative office there, but the main activities will be carried out in the other area? That means in a different domain or different, geographical location. Maybe Hyderabad, maybe Bangalore or Chennai. So that head office will take the all works that comes out of that particular representative bank office or branch. So that means you are having a branch in that location, but the activities are not happening in that particular location, but it's happening in a main branch location. So in this example, you have to understand one thing. There will be number of customers walking through for different requests, correct? Maybe account opening, or maybe taking loans, or applying for the credit cards. We don't know. There are many products in a bank. So customers are, you can expect the customers walking into branch for various requests. So when these activities are being put into the head office or the main branch office, the organization should also know that what is the number of resources available within this main branch. Are they capable of taking this load that is coming out of this particular representative branch? I'm talking with respect to the business perspective or business process perspective. Now, definitely, if you have a business process, you should also consider the IT domain, right? Because you should be able to deliver the work on time without any issues. So they also should understand, is the number of employees sufficient to take the additional load or not? That is point number one with respect to the resources, human resources. Now, the second point is about the IT resources. So it can be applications, it can be systems, it can be network, it can be the servers also. If organization plans to take the workload additional, they will try to understand what is the capacity of this main branch in taking up the additional load from the representative branch. Are they capable of doing it? Is the resources really available? Or do they have any issues? If they have issues, what is that expectations out of it? So all these things will be included in the capacity management planning document. So that is what I'm saying. It can be with respect to the business process, or it can be with respect to the IT domain. So no matter what the area or domain that you are going to do or plan for the capacity management, you are trying to understand what is the actual capacity of the current business or the current team that is capable of performing. That is about the business process. If I talk about the IT domain, do we have enough computers? That is a question mark. Do we have sufficient network to take up the additional load? That is a question mark. Is our servers really capable of taking additional commands or the entries? That is a question mark. So the top management should include all these things in case of any additional things that comes with the process or the business. It can be business process or IT perspective. We don't know. So no matter what the situation, both are interconnected. So you should be, as the top management, should consider both the environments, and they should work upon it and plan the things in advance, and they should include in the capacity management planning document or program document. Is it clear, guys, with the 4 things? Any doubts?
No doubts, Rajesh.
Clear, Rajesh.
Very good. Because these are the concepts, how each function really works. Once you understand this, it becomes easy for you to go ahead with the remaining things. So that is why I keep stopping and asking you for any doubts that you have. Clear, guys? So I have covered these things, and I will start distributing the material. Okay, and we have already discussed internal and external audits as well. So that's it for the day, and I hope you have enjoyed today's class and learned something new and noted down something in the books. Okay.
Yeah, Rajesh. And
Yeah.
Rajesh, yesterday you asked us to remember about this risk management, no?
Yeah, first let me cover up the basic things. I want to
Okay,
give you fair knowledge about these areas,
okay,
because this is very important, not only the audit perspective, but also with the practical way of doing. What are you going to do after joining the organization? That is what you have to learn in advance. So,
okay,
yeah, once you come across these terminologies, these document names, then you will have a clear picture like, okay, particular document we have already discussed. This is what it will contain. The purpose of this particular document is this. So you will have a clear picture. So you can walk into office confidently.
okay, Rajesh.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's it. Okay. Thanks a lot, and let's continue tomorrow. And
Thank you, Rajesh.
tomorrow we are going to start with the risk management. Okay.
Okay.
Because I don't want to miss the topic, that's why I extended one day. That's it. Okay, so I will be sharing this material with our coordinator and will distribute to you guys. Okay. Thanks.
Okay,
Good
Thanks,
day.
Rajesh.
Thank you.